Hey, good morning. The first thing I want to do today is thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following. Um, it's real easy to, you can look at some of these influencers' accounts on social media, and they got hundreds of thousands of followers. And, to understand that, we have to take that with a grain of salt. That some of those things can be bought and not earned. And one of the things that, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you can look at my account, say, oh, you got 14, 15,000 followers, uh, and you can start to measure yourself by that. But what's so important to me, what means so much to me, is that's 14,000 people, right? It's not 14,000 followers, it's 14,000 human beings. And if that was only 100 human beings, it's totally worth all the effort that goes into that. Because let me be clear, this is not something that comes natural or easy to me. It's not easy to be a social media influencer when you're in the middle of your seventh decade of life. But when you are my age, you start to notice a few things. And so one of the things I want to talk about today that's really near and dear to my heart is so important, because it's not just important to me. I mean, partially the reason I want to talk about this is because I'm being selfish, because I want other people to be around to play with and do things with when I get another 10, 20, 30 years older. But mostly because I want you to live your best life possible. So, when like say I'll be 66 next week, and you when you get to that age, you start to notice, you have a lot of people that or you have friends with people that that are tipping over just out of the blue, that were seemingly healthy from the outside looking in. They were healthy and strong, and yeah, they maybe had a little bit of a belly going on, or they maybe didn't eat right, whatever right is, and we can talk about that. But that seemingly they were doing pretty good, and all of a sudden, boom, they tip over. Now, I'm not here to say that accidents don't happen. The car crashes, the motorcycle, the horse wrecks, bad luck, that sort of stuff. It does happen, but a lot of these things are totally within our control. And those are the things I'm so passionate about helping people understand, that we're just because, it seems like we can't control anything, doesn't mean we shouldn't try to control something or most things. And so what I want to talk about is the fact that I am seeing more and more these guys that I know that were good friends, that were amazingly capable, more capable than me when they were younger, more genetically gifted. And I always had to go to the gym and eat right and do all these things to try and optimize my health. And they seemingly didn't have to do that. And you're kind of like, well, that's not fair, right? But what's happening now when I get to this point in my life is I'm starting to see that these habits catch up with people. These bad habits catch up to good people. And the problem is, if that happens later in life and you haven't done some of the work ahead of time, either you give up and you quit trying because you think, I'm too old, I got bad genetics, whatever, and they start thinking, well, this isn't fair because it's out, the deck's always been stacked in their favor in the past, and now they become just like everybody else, where they actually have to put some effort into it. But the problem is, if you haven't done that your life up until that point, you don't know what to do. You don't have the skill set, you don't have the knowledge, because there's so much confusion out there, especially about how older men in particular need to train, need to eat, need to work, need to have communities. There's so much confusion out there because people have a vested interest in selling you their thing or whatever it is. So a lot of these things that you could get by with when you're younger, you can't get by with them anymore. And you just can't be healthy again if you don't start to turn that train around. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I have, I feel like I am the one that's perfectly qualified to lead men through this, because people need to understand that your mess can end up being your message. And my mess was, I was a hard worker. I was a dentist for 30 years. It's not easy to get through school. I had to go in all kinds of debt to do that, take all kinds of risk with a young family. And then when I'm in my prime, I get slapped with the diagnosis of this rare blood disorder that could have just totally devastated me. And I could have just went on disability, and I could have just said, poor me, and that's not fair, and all those things that continue to go downhill. But because I had done the work ahead of time, because I knew how to look at studies, I've been going to the gym for 50 years, right? And I observed when people do certain things, they got certain results. So I feel I'm uniquely qualified, because people like me that have the blood disorder that I have, a lot of times are dead by now. And if they're not dead, they're very, very restricted in the things they can and can't do. And that's simply not the case for me. There's nothing I can't do now at 66 that I could do when I was 20, except I could eat more then. And that's not necessarily a good thing, right? So, but I can honestly say that. And the reason is because I have built the habits that have kept me healthy. Now, have these habits needed to be modified and changed as I get older? Absolutely. But that's part of the beauty of the systems that we've developed in this Anti-Fragile Brotherhood. That's part of the beauty of these systems, is that we can take you from where you're at to where you want to go. We have the systems in place to do that. And that's the problem I see. A lot of people, these gifted people that have gotten by, kind of eating crappy, kind of eating, drinking too much alcohol, never, lifting a weight in their life because, well, I get plenty of exercise on the ranch or whatever it might be. And then when they start to have these little aches and pains that are so foreign to them because they've never had to deal with that, they don't know what to do. And they never say it, but down deep they're panicked, like, oh crap, am I losing my edge, right? And it's real easy just to be dismissive of that. Well, I'm just getting older, got bad genetics. But absolutely, those trains can be turned around. And again, I speak from experience because we've done that over and over and over. So, and this healthy living isn't just about living longer. It's about having a better life. It's about contributing more. When you get to be in your 60s, 70s, 80s, you have so much wisdom. You have so much wisdom that I feel like it's your obligation to share it with other people. You have to share those gifts with other people. And so, a lot of times these people are so involved in thinking about them and their problems, and because they've never had to deal with this before, that not only can they not help themselves and get out of that hole, they can't help their families, they can't help their friends, and more importantly, now is the time of their life where they're either retired or thinking about retirement, and you could do anything you want. All of these guys have the financial resources to do that because they've been working so diligently to protect those financial resources. But the one resource that they should be protecting, their health and wellness, their vitality, their reserve capacity. I talk about this in my book a lot. You need to not just keep from going downhill. You need to build a reserve capacity for when life's inevitable accidents occur, you do get bucked off the horse or whatever happens, that you can bounce back from that. You can not just not get injured and be okay. You can actually bounce back from that. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of vitality that you want. And you can, I'm telling you, at any age, under any condition, you can start to stack the deck in your favor. You can be better a month from now than you are today. You absolutely can. I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're diabetic or, 50 pounds, 100 pounds overweight. It does not matter your starting point. What matters is you get the right information and then you start moving that needle in the beginning just to stop the decline. Get the information you need, get the help you need. That's the other problem I see with a lot of older men in particular, is they're almost like, it's almost like kryptonite to ask for help, because they've got to the point where they are, they think. None of us get to have success on our own, but it's real easy when you get to that point where you're quote unquote successful to think, though, I worked my ass off, I deserve to, do these things, that, I did this, I did that, when in reality, none of us are built on our own. We all had either the situation we were born into, or the people along the way, our spouses, our friends, our unfortunately or fortunately, the luck that we've had. You talk to any of these, or you study any of these high achievers, the Bezoses and the Bill Gates and people like that, they had a lot of luck happen. But my definition of luck is laboring under the correct knowledge, right? They still had to do the work. But timing matters. That's why I'm trying to be here to help guide you on that way to when you have an issue, to ask. And we have a huge amount of resources here, whether it's just studies or people or specialists or other men in the Anti-Fragile Brotherhood that have gone through the same thing you have. We have a huge ability to connect people here to help you through your situation, because, like I say, a lot of men, one of the biggest problems they have is they won't ask for help. Let me run this by you. When was the last time you went and helped a friend? His pickup broke down and you had to go rescue him, or he needed help moving something, or whatever it might be. The last time you went and helped a friend, okay? How did that make you feel? Not him. We know how he felt about it, or her, right? They were very grateful that you were there, that you were that kind of person they could call to come help them out of this situation. We know they felt good, but how did you feel? I guarantee you, you felt really good by doing that, by helping somebody else. Yet here we are as grown men, and we would do anything. We'd drop everything to go help a friend, but we hold back and don't ask that friend for help when it could help you, and it would make them feel really good about themselves for being able to help you, right? We need to understand these things. We need to stick together, especially in this world we live in today with AI and all this stuff coming on. We need communities that we can rely on. We need communities that we can trust, and we need communities of men that can set the example, that can be the example. You don't even have to talk about it. Just live your life in such a way that inspires other people to want to do the same thing, to want to be like you. Do it for the people around you, okay? And selfishly, like I talked about, I want you to be healthy. I want you to be strong, because I want people to go do stuff with. I want my friends to be healthy and strong, because I want them. I don't want to be out riding my horse, riding my motorcycle, hiking in the mountains, hunting. I don't want to be doing that stuff by myself. I mean, I'll always have my family and people that are younger than me I go do that with, but you guys have been my friends my whole life. I want the same thing for you that I have, because I know if I can turn this train around with the disease that I had and thrive, I know that you can do it too. And it doesn't require Navy SEAL workouts. It doesn't require only eating chicken and broccoli. You can do great things. You can go have fun. You can do the parties. You can go golfing. You can travel. You just have to know how to navigate those situations, and that's the skill set that you need to learn. That's what we do here. That's how we help people. So that's why I appreciate people tuning in, whether you want to consider joining our brotherhood, or when you just want to consume some of our content. If you want to ask us questions, send me a DM. I love to help people. That's why I do this. And like I say, part of it is I'm being selfish, because I want you as a friend, because I know the kind of person you are. You just maybe need a little nudge, And when you talk to people on their deathbed, it's really important to understand this. None of them say, I mean, there's been all kinds of interviews of people that are on their deathbed. None of them say, I wish I'd have worked harder. None of them say, you know, I wish I'd have, you know, worked longer, or I wish I had, you know, 5 million instead of 3 million. None of them say that. What they all say is the things that they regret or what they knew they were capable of, but they didn't pursue it. That they knew they were put here for something more, for something special. They had that knowing, we all do, but they didn't pursue it. Okay? That's what they regret. They regret that they died lonely because they didn't curate a community of people that cared about them and nurture the young people coming after them to share their gifts, to share their struggles, to share their beliefs. That's how we turn this whole society around, this whole decline. And it's not as bad as a lot of the people on social media and the papers and the news would like us to believe. It's not that bad, but there is a drift happening. And the way that's going to get turned around is by good men doing good things, creating good communities, learning the lessons, and then sharing the lessons. That's the point where that's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom isn't knowledge. Wisdom is about taking that knowledge and passing it on to other people, making a difference in other people's lives. So I'm not asking my friends to take care of themselves to get the six-pack. That's not what it's all about. I'm asking because I love them, because I care about them, and I want to have somebody to go do something with when I get older. So take care. I appreciate everybody listening today. And if we can help in any way, reach out. And that's what we're here for. So God bless.